Welcome back to the Cricket Matters podcast. Today's topic is running workouts for cricketers to improve endurance. James, as a cricketer in the Wales over 40s team, why do you think running is important, and why particularly endurance for cricketers?
Well, running's a big part of the game. Simple as that. Like, you have to run. You have to run when you're batting, or more like sprinting. You have to run in the field. If you're a bowler, like a seam bowler particularly, you're running in to bowl. So it's a big part of the game. And I think cricketers, a lot of them don't like to run. However, to become a better cricketer, you have to fall in love with running, or at least learn to like it more than dislike it, as Andre Nell said a few weeks ago, right? It's a big part of the game, and we have to develop it. So I'm not saying everybody should go and run marathons to improve their game. Far from it. I don't think, unless you enjoy it, I don't think cricketers should run more than 5 to 10k. I'd say more at the 10k range consistently. But you're talking about this overall development, because you've got to build up all three aspects of the energy systems. Because you're sprinting for short periods of time, you're doing more longer bursts, for example, running to the boundary, and then you've got to have this overall endurance aspect to make sure you're fit and recover fast enough, and you can go all day long in terms of your batting, because you never know when you're going to need your fitness the most, particularly when you're batting, but also in cricket in general. So it's an important aspect of it.
Exactly. Who was it? Was it Steve James we were talking to, saying you could be out first ball, but you could be in for 150, so you might have to run a lot. So if you're not prepared to run, for hours and hours and hours, then you're going to struggle, aren't you, straight away? So you need that endurance. It's vital.
Exactly. So for running, I think is a key element to it. However, I'm not saying all cricketers should run yet, because there's a lot of, particularly in the amateur game, there's a lot of overweight cricketers, and there's a lot of big guys running who could cause issues with the joints. So there's a balance to be found. But as a general rule of thumb, cricketers should be running, and there's different types of running they should be doing to impact the different parts of the game.
Okay, so where do we start then? What is the best way to start, and what type of running workout should you start with?
Well, let's start with the easy one. It's off-season at the moment for most cricketers in the UK, in the Northern Hemisphere. So therefore, we've got to think about building our aerobic base, which means we've got to go for longer, slower pieces. Now, the fancy word that everyone sees online these days is called zone 2. We call it MAF work, which is the idea of like running below aerobic threshold, which is nice and easy. You can go for a run at conversational pace where we can talk to each other like this. It's not too hard, and at the end of it, you feel like, oh wow, I could do that again, as opposed to running and dying. Because I challenge everyone listening to this now. Next time you see some runners running around your local park or running around your local area, look at the pain and anguish on their face, right? They look miserable. Most people are not running comfortably in zone 2 or at MAF. They're running through pain, which is not what we want to do if we're building a robust, highly functional engine in terms of your aerobic development. So yeah, I just challenge you, just check them all out. So the aerobic side of things is what we're looking for longer pieces. And again, like I said earlier, I'm not asking you to go and run a marathon, but I think in the off season, 2 to 3 sessions a week of the 5 to 10k region is a good idea. But if you can't run that yet, then we've got to build you up to it yet. If you haven't walked a 5k, well, why would I get you to run 5k, right?
Go and walk 5k first, sensibly.
Exactly. And we're using one of our athletes at the moment. She's struggling. She really struggled on the 2k time trial and also in the 5k test. So we've got her doing a lot of walk-run stuff to build that capacity up. So it doesn't kill her. It's just slowly building her up aerobically. So like she's walking for 2 minutes, running for 2 minutes, walking for 3. We're building up to 3-2, 4-1. So it's a mixture of that. But the idea is nice, easy, repeatable aerobic stuff. And that's what I'd love to see nearly all the cricketers do in terms of their development.
And I just say, if you don't have a heart rate monitor, the easiest way to judge your pace is, as James said, conversational. So can you still talk? If you can't talk and you're going like that, and you're having to break up your sentences, then you're going a little bit too fast. That's the easiest way to figure it out. Okay, so that's aerobic base. That should be probably as you say, 2 or 3 times a week, the majority of your work. Let's look at batsmen. What type of aerobic workouts, running workouts should batsmen be doing?
Well, definitely do the aerobic pieces we just talked about here now, but then as the season or the off-season, pre-season progresses, we go into more shuttle runs, right? Because that's more realistic to their batting. Now, you're not always going to be able to do it with your pads on, and some people don't want to do it with their pads on in the local park, right? Because they think they look stupid, right?
Some strange looks.
Exactly. So I'm a big believer in doing both when you can. However, the vast majority of it, I'd say you can do it without running with kit on. So again, super simple. By the way, all this, there's linked to a blog. There's a really good blog you can read about this, which we've written on the website, which gives an actual training plan for each as well. So you can figure this out and follow this along in yourselves on the blog. So just type in running workouts for cricketers. We pretty much come up top. So you can find everything there. Now, for batsmen, it's shuttles. And we're going to build up this idea of running in between. Now, I would always suggest practice running twos to begin with. Like week 1, you're doing 2 or 3 sessions of running twos for 15, 20 minutes, as an example, where you run twos. Ideally, you'd wait until your heart rate drops below a certain threshold, ideally around 120, if you want to be super specific, like we do with our athletes. Or you do like 15 seconds of running with a minute off, or go back into this and then slowly decrease the time over time, depending on what you want to try and do. But the idea is set a goal. What week 1 is 15 minutes of shuttles, running in between the wickets, rest in between each 2, and then the following week we'll build up to maybe running threes and resting a certain amount of time and then do it for 15 minutes. And then we extend out from 15 to 20 to 25 to 30 to 35 to 40 minutes potentially. Right, and doing these ideas of shuttle runs in between. It's quite hard to explain over audio. It'd be easier over video, and also just reading the blog where we break this down exactly for you and what to do, tell you what to do basically. But it's the idea of practicing shuttles, resting a certain time. And
Shuttles, isn't it, in the simplest sense? Shuttles. And you could also sort of mix it up. You could run 1s, then 2s, then 3s. Just play about with it a little bit. Cool, that's batsmen. What about fast bowlers? Anything different they should be doing? Because obviously they have how long is a fast bowler's run up generally, mate?
It depends, but on average you're talking about 20 metres roughly, something like that. Now, in terms of fast bowlers, again, I would build out similar to shuttles, but repeats of this. Now, if you think about bowlers that are bowling in 6 balls at a time, boom, walking back, doing it again. So in the simplest form, I would get them running over wickets, those little mini hurdles, to improve their running efficiency, and do this consistently. Again, do 15, 20 minutes work and build up longer periods. But I'd imagine they're running in, run over the wickets, right, at a good lick, good pace over the wickets, turn around, walk back, go again, right? That's in the simplest form. Now, in reality, what I'd love to see is them run the wickets for 25 metres, walk back, wait till their heart rate is below 120, and then go. You may find it's super easy to begin with, but as you progress, it gets longer and longer and longer. So you may have to wait a little bit longer. So at the start, you may just boom, do it, walk back, do it again a few times, but then you'll notice, oh my God, my heart rate's above 120. And I need to wait for it to come down again. So it takes time, but build this period of like 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, long periods of doing this. Yes, it's monotonous, but guess what? It's what you're doing when you're bowling coming in, right? We want to do some other shuttle stuff like batting, because you're going to bat at some point too. Yes, absolutely. And do some long piece aerobic stuff, but you've got to do this. This is the boring legwork. You get comfortable with boredom again, and just be keen to do this. I'd say it's an important aspect, because you're working on technique and your ability to recover in between balls. Why are we doing rest below 120? Because everyone out there is different. Everyone's cardiovascular engine has a different capacity, and this is a great way to normalize it for most people. Time doesn't always work. It isn't always the best predictor of doing things for most people, because everyone is different.
Yeah, and obviously you'll find as you go through your workout, if you use 120 rest, that your rest will get slightly longer each time. So it's individualized to you. Okay, finally then, what about fielders? What about improving your performance in the field?
So I think there's an element that everyone can do this as well, because there's going to be a time when you have to sprint to the boundary, right? Whether from in the inner circle to the actual boundary itself. So what I like to do is, yes, we've got batsmen doing these shuttle runs, We've got bowlers doing these 25-metre sprint, longer sprints, right? But I'd love to see them do these 50-metre style sprints too, as if they're running to the boundary, because it's part of the game. So we've kind of like doing this aerobic base building here now. We've got shuttles, which I think batsmen particularly need to do. And then I'd argue that the batsmen also need to do these longer pieces, like as if they're fielding, because they're mostly in the inner circle. And also spin bowlers tend to be in that area as well. And then bowlers, I'd say you can do this as well, but definitely think about the same pieces. I would get hurdles out again, practice their ability, sprint 50 metres to the boundary, walk back recovery, do it again, and do the same with a heart rate recovery. It's super simple stuff, but it's stuff I'm not seeing anybody do consistently. And we're all about building this and being realistic to the game. Now, we can do all sorts of fun stuff in between, but the grunt work, this is stuff you have to do on your own when no one's watching to make you a better cricketer. Okay, that's what our goal is here, to make you a better cricketer. And to do this, you've got to do some of the hard, boring legwork in between. And it's a mixture of these things.
Yeah, people might be questioning sort of how then is all this running going to improve my game, make me a better cricketer? Could you just sort of final thoughts, summary on that?
Yeah, so again, cricket's about decision making. It's about being fit enough to recover fast enough for the next ball. Remember, it's better every ball. That's our mantra. Okay, here at Cricket Matters, better every ball. So you've got to recover fast enough to be able to make a better decision for that next ball. And if you're not fit enough, you're going to struggle. So what we're doing is making you fit enough to give you better clarity and peace of mind to make better decisions. So the fitter you are, the healthier you are, the better you can perform, the more athletic you can be, and the better cricketer you will become. Simple as that.
There we go. As you say, better every ball. That is our mantra. Would you call it your mantra?
Yeah, I'd say got a mantra. It's got a mantra. A motto, mantra.
Motto. That maybe that's a better way to put it. Thank you very much. There we go. Hope that was useful for you. That is it for today. Please don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. And if you would like our free training plan, then go to cricketmatters.com/train. And remember, our goal is to make you a better cricketer.